And we're live on Game Changers with me, Vicki Abelson, and my guest today is Eddie Martinez. Eddie.
Hey, Vicki.
I'm so happy to meet you. And
it's great to be here, really.
You know, Carmine, as soon as he did the show, he said, "Oh, you've got to have Eddie on." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, I can do that." And
he's my brother.
You guys go way back. We're gonna talk about how that started. I'm trying to take our show public so people can see us. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
You met Carmine, I know, back in LaBelle, correct?
Yeah, he was there when I auditioned, and
can you tell that story? I was just listening to you tell the story of your audition.
Crazy story. At that time I had one guitar, and it was an old Stratocaster, and it was the first time I was getting a fret job. So I had no guitar. But I heard about this audition. I think it was one of the last days of auditioning. So right. I called and I made an appointment, because you had to call the tour manager or the manager. Vicki Wickham was the manager. And
how did you know about the audition?
I think somebody told me. Either that, or I think I saw something in the Village Voice. I think there may have been a post in the Village Voice about it. And I called and I went down. And so I'm waiting for this guitar, and Woody Pfeiffer was doing my frets. He's an old legendary New York luthier. And so I went downtown and I picked up the guitar and got in a checker cab. I still remember checker cab took me to I think it was Carol's studio or Bill's studio, I think it was. And it was a cattle call. I walked in and there were just tons of guitarists all over the place. And I think it was one of the last people to audition.
Wow.
And I went in and I plugged in this guitar that I hadn't played. And when you get a fret job, at least in those days, I'd never experienced a guitar that had the frets changed.
Right.
And so I go in and it's like I'm literally playing a different guitar, because it really felt physically different. But I just plugged in, dimed the amplifier, turned it to 10, and then the rest is. Then they asked me back. They asked me back, and it was between me and a couple of other guys, and I was the last man standing. So I got the gig. I was thrilled about that.
Wow. And that gig lasted a while for you, yeah?
Well, about a year and a half, which is, in gig terms, that's not bad. That's not bad. Let's see, from August of 75 to December of 76, the gig lasted. So that was it.
And then it led to Nona Hendrix, yeah?
Yeah. They disbanded. The group broke up, and Nona asked me if I wanted to play in her band, and she was going in more of a rock thing, which is really where my head was at and where Carmine's head was at. And Patty went more in the R&B kind of diva thing, which was that's her strength right there. So it made all the sense in the world. But great working with Nona. She's a dear friend to this day, and boy, she's an amazing woman. Really a multimedia,
And
talent.
She was sort of the first, was she not a first woman of color rock composers? Wasn't she cutting edge?
She was cutting edge, cutting edge, in terms of what she was doing. She was defiant. I have such respect and admiration for her relative to what she wanted to do. She wanted to rock out. And she did, and we made a really good record for the time. It was really a strong record. It was song orientated, but it was rocking. And
you have been rocking. You have been rocking. All right, so we're gonna talk about that, because Hendrix and Beck are my two, and I know that you come from that school too. And I've been listening to you all day and hearing about how oh my God. And you have played on like every iconic record that came out of the time, which is crazy. But I want to go back and find out where you started. But before we even talk about your background,
Mhm.
What's it been like for you with COVID going on? Like, what were you doing when the lights went out? Where were you at when the pandemic hit? What was your life like?
Well, wow. My life was like I just gone February of 20. I went
Hmm.
to New York right before everything blew up. You know,
Right.
um, had gone to a memorial service for a dear friend of mine, a guitarist by the name of Ronnie
Sorry.
Drayton, who had passed away, and he had played with Nona and just tons of other people as well. A brilliant
Mm.
guitarist, and we kind of started out together. And I just really had to go to New York to pay my respects to my friend. Um, and it was coming back, it was when everything blew up, Vicki. Everything just kind of like everything blew up.
Wait,
So
now coming back, how the hell did you end up in Oregon? How did that happen?
oh gosh, well, all of my immediate family had moved out here. All of my immediate family was here,
Because,
um, because my brother started a business that was a really big business, and he wanted to have some of his family here
uh-huh.
helping him out with the business. And I came out, and I just gone through a divorce, and really, I just had to get out of Dodge. It was one of those
Hmm.
things.
Hmm.
And
How long ago was that you ended up in Oregon?
20 years next month. I can't believe
What?
I've been out of New York for 20 years.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
so you've
yeah.
done all this playing and everything, living based in Oregon.
Based in Oregon, but most of it while I was in New York, and I still do recording sessions and things like that. But the whole business has changed so dramatically that you don't have to be in a major
Do you have a
major
studio?
center.
I see the records. I see the platinum records behind you. Do you have a
Oh
studio in your home?
no, not yet. I'm building an ADU in the backyard, which may be an eventual studio, and that's almost done. And just busy here with getting all that stuff together. But I definitely want to have a virtual studio where I
So
can do what I do.
how have you done it?
Oh, just the studios here are all available. I have engineers, and people send me files. I send them to the engineer, and we just download them. And I put my guitars on and send the files back and send an invoice.
That's okay. So let's go back. So 20 February 2020, you're in New York for
Yeah,
a memorial.
yes. And I come back, and I was just about to start working on. I had these tapes that I cut back in '96,
Wow.
and with a dear friend of mine, Jason Corsaro, who is a great, iconic, iconoclastic engineer. He just like shattered traditions, and he was a real trailblazer. And he had passed away, and he was a dear friend of mine. And I'd cut some tracks that he had recorded back in '96. And when I went back to, that's another memorial. I went back to New York. I went back to
Wow.
New York for the memorial,
Mhm.
and his family had found the multi tracks in his basement, and they gave them back to me, and I brought them back, and I've already converted them down into Pro Tools sessions, and I was just about to kind of redo it and kind of polish it up and get it ready, and then COVID hit and everything shut down, and it's just like a weird kind of inverted vortex, or whatever you want to call it. It's just been weird, and
So
this year's kind of,
what's it been
pardon.
like for you? What's it been like for you in Oregon during COVID?
Well, I think much better than most, albeit, you're seeing, Portland burning every night over the last, couple of
Hmm.
years. And fortunately, I don't live downtown or in the area where that has been taking place. So where I live, it's, quite bucolic, and it's just beautiful. It's kind of in the burbs, but a lot of trees. There's a lot of trees in this place, let me tell you.
Tony
So,
Vincent, by the way, who did the composite photo of you today,
uh-huh.
she's a rock photographer, and she moved from New York to Oregon as well. Yes,
Oh,
she's
cool. It's a
um,
beautiful state. I mean, whether you're in Portland, which is considered the valley, or
the
there's
valley.
Bend, and then
Mhm.
there's the coast, which is just about, hour and 15 from me. And it's beautiful. It's, you know,
So
gorgeous.
you've been able to work. Were you COVID cautious? Were you someone who didn't pay a lot of attention? Did you pay a lot of attention?
No, I paid a heck of a lot of attention to it, and, just trying to grasp the science and, the common sense aspects of it, and
Mhm.
been really, yeah, I've been really kind of like more of a hermit than I usually am.
I call myself COVID crazy, and a lot of people who watch the show were the COVID crazies, and spent like a year and a half locked up in my house.
Oh my God, I think I've been. I mean, I think I've watched every episode of Combat, which is a 60s kind of.
I know Combat.
I mean, I think I watched every season. I've watched everything.
Yeah, I think we
so
all
yeah,
have, right?
yeah. We're just recently we're getting together with family, and my brother flew in from Florida last week and spent the entire week, and he had his booster
Nice.
shot. He and his wife came in. They both had the booster shot and spent a week with us. And it was just great seeing my brother. Hadn't seen him in 2 years. It's like, oh man, it was so great to reminisce and spend really quality time with my family. It was great. So that was
wonderful.
Restorative. And prior to that, my family and I, we went to the coast for a week, and it's the first time we'd gone away in a long, long time. And we just chilled and we're just out there looking at the ocean and eating good, having great wine, and just, loving it.
So did you bone up on cooking skill? Did you eat more at home? I mean, I cooked more.
Oh
than
my
I've
God,
ever.
yes. Yeah, that, and we've been ordering out because, I mean, Portland has great food, great restaurants.
Really? What's native to what's the food in Portland?
Well, the food is a lot of hybrid young chefs. There's a young cutting edge cuisine. There's the traditional restaurants that have been here for a long time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just a really great assortment. And I mean, from farm to fork is like nothing here. It's like I remember having some donuts in some quaint little shop a few years ago, and we were just complimenting the owner how great they were. He says, "Oh yeah, we get the honey right down the street." It's like,
Wow.
it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, the person that provides you the honey to glaze your donuts with. I mean, that's kind of like, that's very deep. It's like,
It is deep.
I'm trying to grasp that.
They don't do that in the Bronx. Okay, so
no, they don't. Just get a knish or something like that, and a bagel with a schmear.
Yeah. All right. So
deal.
we have to get to this. So your family. So now we've gone full circle to where you come from. So so Ozone Park originally.
Yeah, born in Ozone Park, and then we moved to Hollis. And it's so funny that the work that I did years later with Run DMC, and they're from Hollis.
Which is crazy.
It's crazy. Some serendipitous kind of thing going on there. And Ozone Park to Hollis, Queens, and then like maybe 6 months on the Lower East Side, and then the Bronx, 163rd Street. And then we were there.
I was just going to say, so I started out on the concourse, 161st, and then went to Corona, Queens, and then I was back in Pelham Parkway.
Oh, wow. Okay, so yeah, kind of got it. It's kind of reverse almost.
So, but you went from sort of Ozone Park, kind of suburban-ish. Right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had a front yard, had a backyard, had a dog, the whole deal, it was cool.
And then going from that to the Bronx is a whole different.
Yeah. Then Hollis was really a beautiful community.
I don't know Hollis. Where's Hollis?
It's like Farmers Boulevard, Jamaica area. And it's total burbs, and then the Bronx, so I'm 163rd Street, not too far from where you lived, east of the concourse, and was there for a bit. And then most of the years was on 175th Street and Anthony Avenue, which was a very unique. Actually, if you see that movie Fort Apache, The Bronx, there's a chase scene down our old block.
Wow.
It's a trip.
So
Anthony that was a
Avenue,
very interesting.
Wasn't that the very where all the great Italian restaurants are?
No, that's more. That's Arthur Avenue. Arthur Avenue, where all the great Italian restaurants are. Anthony Avenue is straight up the concourse to 175th Street, and then like 5 blocks east. And that would have been Anthony Avenue, much more like the Tremont area is where I live.
Do you remember Jan's Ice Cream Parlor and
Oh,
Alexander's?
Yeah. On Fordham Road? Are you kidding?
Yes.
That was like, Park Avenue. That was like the mecca for shopping, Alexander's. Oh my God. And there was Sam Goody's. I remember.
Oh,
I remember buying I remember buying Sergeant Pepper's up there, and I was into all, I was really into a lot of British music and British pop music when I was a kid. I was strange. I was a Puerto Rican kid living in a
Okay, I want, yeah.
We walk up and I'm walking up the Fordham Road to buy Cilla Black, Step Inside Love. I don't know what the hell's wrong with me.
So
great song though, Lennon and McCartney song.
How did that happen? How did you get turned on to British rock, to the Beatles? What was it, Ed Sullivan? What happened for you?
Oh, it was Ed Sullivan. I saw Ed Sullivan, and then the Beatles was it.
Were you already playing guitar? You weren't playing guitar then.
No, I wasn't playing guitar, but that was the spark for me. And then the next spark was Jimi Hendrix. Oh. And my cousin came over on a New Year's Eve. I'll never forget. And he came over with 3 albums: Procol Harum, White a Shade of Pale, Disraeli Gears, Cream, and Are You Experienced? And man, that just that changed everything. Just changed everything for me. It was really, it's like my ears were like virgin ears that just blew up, and
all really, that music, all the same music. What? So now, when did you? Okay, so your parents musical, not musical?
My mother sang, and but not professionally or anything like that. She sang around the house, and she had a beautiful voice. And my dad wasn't musical, but he did play bugle in the Army. My dad was a GI. And my uncle was more of a musician than my dad was, and he played trumpet. And so, yeah, I guess somewhere along the line, there was that kind of connection to music.
And what kind of music did you grow up with? What kind of music was playing in your house when you were a kid?
Oh, well, pretty much there was a lot of Latin music. And, growing up in the Bronx in the 60s, to me, that was the golden era for Latin music with Tito Puente and Eddie Palmieri and Machito and all the great bands that were around. There was something to that era with Latin music. I call it Latin music because it's, salsa's a condiment, it's, so I call it Latin music. And beautiful music. And so there was a lot of that in the house. And then as the 60s evolved, my older brother, Carlos, he had...
How many? A lot of siblings.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yes. 6 boys and a girl.
Wow. Okay.
And my sister, have a sister, our only sister passed, and my older brother passed years ago. And but yeah, it was... a lot of music. My older brother, as I said, Carlos, he had everything from Sketches of Spain, Miles Davis, Stan Getz, Knight Rider, Morgana King, Arthur Prysock, Bob Dylan, Tony Bennett, Sun Ra. I mean, just the whole, real gamut of what was happening. And then I had my Beatle albums, and then I had my Hendrix albums, and I kept those separate because I didn't want my records getting scratched. I was just like really kind of anal about that shit. And I didn't want any scratches. I still have those albums. I still have my first Beatle album, which was Revolver. Yeah, it's my first Beatle album. And then I went back, chronologically to the first album.
Was my first one, yeah. So when did you pick up the guitar? How did that happen?
I picked up I'd been asking my dad for a guitar, and we came from, humble beginnings. So he saved up his shekels, saved up money, and got me my first acoustic guitar. And I played that until it literally fell apart, Vicki. I mean, I had string around the bridge, keeping it down, and I played that. And then he got me my first electric guitar, which was a Gretsch Corvette and a Deluxe Reverb, which is Deluxe Reverb was a very coveted amp. It was a black panel Deluxe. Even to this day, it's a coveted amplifier, and probably $2 to $3 grand if you get a nice one.
Wow.
So back then it was just like $150. It wasn't, but it was a lot of money for my dad. It was like maybe guitar and amp was maybe $75, $100 or something, maybe, but that was a lot of dough, and but that was it. Then I was on my own after I got my electric guitar, and then
your family obviously supported you in playing. If he got you this
stuff, they supported me 100%. It wasn't like, oh well, we want you to play, but we want you to, do something else. You know what I mean? It was like kind of like that, what you're going to fall back on. Every I'm sure all the players out there have heard that from their parents,
You
It's
didn't
like,
get that?
no, I
Wow.
didn't.
That's miraculous.
And I was playing in clubs doing 6 sets a night when I was 16 years old.
Okay, how did
And
that happen? So wait.
well,
So how did you go from getting this little acoustic guitar that in your Gretsch to playing in clubs?
well, practice. I was obsessive. I was
Are you
just
self-taught, Eddie? Did you take lessons?
primarily, yeah. I never really took, and I took a few lessons from a great guitarist named Sal Salvador, but that was like in the early 80s. So primarily, I'm self-taught. I did have great music classes in William Howard Taft in the Bronx, and
I
we
was
had
going
a
to ask what
great
school you
music
went to.
department.
Mhm.
Yeah, great music department there. So I had a music theory there, which to me was, it was instrumental in terms of my playing, because if you know what's happening theoretically, then you know how to get around and do what you need to do. So it was really great.
And to
But
be a session player,
ostensibly,
you have to read. So
yeah, well, yeah, you have to read, but a lot of the dates that happened in the 70s and in the 80s, they wanted you for your sound and your expertise. So they'd have a chart and it would be like, A for like 36 bars, and you come up with the parts, you know what I mean? So it was like fill in the gaps, but sometimes if you were doing jingles and stuff, things were written out a lot more, concisely and clearly. But my ears were always faster than my eyes, so I was able to get around really, really well, and be able to hang in all those sessions. I remember George Duke told me, he says, never let the paper intimidate you, and I never did.
wow.
So whether it was uh, Jim Steinman and Andrew Lloyd Webber, or whoever from the spectrum, it was really just about playing and coming up with the parts, because that's what they want. They want you to come up with some magic to make their song better, because usually the stuff that's written out, unless it's really really written precisely, like say if you're doing something for a film score that is really precise,
Mhm.
and then you have to adhere to what's on the paper. But in pop music, they're looking for a vibe,
Right.
and they're looking for what you have done in the past, and they want you to do that again, but within the context of what you're playing on with them.
And wow, have you done that? We're gonna go through it. But so at the beginning, you're playing in clubs at 16. I don't even know how you're doing that because you're underage. And how do you even do
Oh
that?
my God. Well, they hid me in the office in the back in between sets. And the deal with my parents was that as soon as you're done, you come home and you make sure you go to school the next morning. If you don't, the deal's off. It was as simple as that.
Mhm.
So they gave me that freedom, so I had to honor that commitment, and that's the way it was.
I really
So
respect
I'd
that.
been drooping in class, but it all worked out.
You made it through high school.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
made it through high school, and yeah, Taft was a great high school. I mean, there was a lot of different disparate vibes. People, it was so multicultural, but
Mhm.
albeit the times are turbulent, but the school was really cool. A lot of cool people. I look back fondly on Taft. Eventually, it became one of the worst schools in America. I saw something on Google or something like that
Really?
that talked about the school in terms of, I mean, I think it was one of the first schools with metal detectors. Can you believe that?
Oh my God.
What a concept,
Yeah, well,
you
the
know?
South Bronx was tough. It was
Yeah.
definitely a tough town. Um, I was talking to you before the show about, I've been listening to some of your interviews today and just so taken by how articulate and educated you are, and have come to learn that it's self-educated for the most part for that. Were your parents, did they instill that in you? Where did that come from, do you think?
Well, I know my dad was a big reader,
Mm.
and I think I kind of picked that up from him, and so I love to read, and so I've just done a lot of reading and done. It's I think when you when you discover things for yourself, it's so much stickier to you in terms of your development as a person. So
when
yeah,
it's not rammed down your throat. And yeah, I think that's true.
yeah. Either that, I mean, it's all a matter of teaching, and there's certain teachers that you connect with and certain teachers that, they're just, they're phoning it in,
Right.
and it's really apparent. And a great teacher is so amazing because they instill the passion, they instill the spark.
Absolutely. So how did it go from playing clubs? How did you go pro? I mean, I assume you were making money doing that, right?
Yeah,
So
I was. I was determined. I didn't want to play in clubs forever. I
well,
saw
so
it
what
as
was the dream, Eddie? What was the dream when you were a teenager?
the dream was to play on records and play on stages, on concert stages, as opposed to doing 6 weeks at a club playing top 40 music. Not to disparage that, because I mean that's great as a foundation for a musician doing those kind of gigs. It kind of seasons you in a way that's really good for future years. But I just had a North Star, and the North Star was I wanted to be in studios. I wanted to play on records. I wanted to play riffs or play on songs that people were going to have to learn.
Wow.
And
And
that
boy,
was
did you do that. How did you, is there a way that you train yourself to be able to improvise and to be able to come up with the, how did you move into that where you were creating music yourself?
well, I think, it's fundamental to have mentors and people that are guiding you along the way. And each step along the way, I had people that were mentors, and that kind of mentorship is so instrumental. I remember the first band that I was in that got a record deal was a band called Mother Night, and I think myself and the drummer were the youngest guys. I was around 18 when I first got it in the band, and the drummer Arnold Ramsey, a great drummer, was around the same age as me, and we had a bass player named Val Burke who was in the band, and I mean, Val was and remains a mentor to me. I learned a lot from him because the music was really demanding, and they really believed in me, and that kind of encouragement, and they kind of schooled me in a really interesting way about all different types of music, because the band, there was, albeit we were playing a lot of cover music. We were playing James Brown, Dyke and the Blazers, Chicago, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Santana, all the popular music of the time, plus the classic funk tunes as well. And it was really instrumental for me being in that band in terms of being a musician and listening. And because when you play, you have to really listen well too. It's the process is really kind of a circuitous process, because you're listening and you're also playing, and you're listening to the others, so you can figure out what you're going to do and where you fit in, and that's the beginning. So when I think of that Mother Night, and then all the different bands that I played in subsequent to that, working at LaBelle was really was amazing, because working with those three powerful women is something really, really, boy, you really learn how to comport yourself in front of an audience, because they each, and we lost Sarah last week. Sarah
I'm
Dash
so
passed
sorry.
away, which is
Yes.
so sad, and it came as a shock to me. But they were so dynamic and so powerful, and they controlled the audience, and the audience were crazy for them. And with that comes also a responsibility to deliver,
Yeah.
and I learned that from them. And then, oh my goodness, working with Nona as a solo artist was really incredible. And then working with Lenny White, one of the great drummers who played with Chick Corea and Return to Forever.
That's a completely different, I mean, to go from rock, well, R&B,
to like a
rock,
jazz,
jazz.
funk fusion. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a really, that was a very interesting curve for me because I had been playing funk and rock generally, but I did have
Had you studied jazz
no,
as
I
a,
didn't, well, not really per se, but I did study it within the context of the bands that I played in previous, like the band Mother Night.
Mhm.
It's like every once in a while we jam on the standards, you know. So I had to learn. Had to learn some of those tunes to be able to play along with that stuff. So I
Right.
had a great knowledge of chords, and the thing with Lenny was really it was a higher education. The music was a lot more precise. It was really ensemble funk pop orientated, and that was great because to be in that band, you'd have to be on your toes. You know, it demanded a lot more musically.
How did you get
And
that gig? I mean, because I would think he would go after a jazz guitarist. How did you get that?
well, a friend of mine, Denzel Miller, who's a genius keyboardist, a dear friend, another mentor, he recommended me to Lenny and invited me down to audition. So I went down and auditioned and played, and Lenny asked me if I wanted to play, and
Fantastic.
and it was great. I made 3 albums with Lenny, and Lenny's a dear friend to this day. Amazing musician. I mean, amazing. And his history as a musician is, you know, incredible. Playing with Miles, Bitches Brew, and all that stuff, and really iconic records, and really one of the great jazz rock stylists of
So I'm
all time.
imagining doing that jazz fusion rock. It must have informed what you were going to do moving forward, because now you have that as part of your basis as well.
Well, I do have as a part of my basis, albeit the music that I've done as a solo artist. I don't know if it falls into that. It's more. It's hard to. It's really hard to categorize what you do when you've been around so many different types of components. It just is what it is. I mean, if you listen to my record, there's some tracks on that may
I listened
sound.
to your record and
Oh, thank you.
first of all, you are a killer singer. Oh my God.
Well, I
Which
sang before I played.
that okay,
Before I
yeah,
played
that's what I
guitar.
heard. So Nile Rogers, I read, was the one who got you that first. Did he get you that first audition or something?
He called me up. He gave me this name back in high school because we went to Taft together, and he says, "Yo, Spiff, give these
And
cats a call. They
Spiff,
look,
I
yeah,
heard that was
Spiffy." And so he said, "Yo, Spiff, call these cats. They're looking for guitarists," and that was Mother Night. So, long story short, on a recommendation, now give me a number to call, and I went down and auditioned and got
and you
that position.
auditioned as a vocalist as well as as a
No, no.
no.
I mean, the first band that I was in the Bronx, I was a singer before I played guitar. I was learning guitar, but and then I was a bassist for a bit. When the bass player left the band, somebody had to fill it. I knew a bit of guitar, then I started playing bass. It's one of those kind of things, It's really
Mhm.
funny, fill the gap.
Well, it's good when you can fill the gaps.
Yeah, yeah, it's cool, and then as I was learning guitar, one day the drummer Warren said to me, uh, "Why don't you guys switch instruments?" So the guy that was the guitarist, Danny, he uh, he handed me his guitar, and I handed him my bass, and I started playing guitar. And Warren said, he said, "Eddie, if you don't stay on the guitar, you're out of your freaking mind.
Wow.
Stay on the instrument." I'll never forget him telling me that, and so I jumped into it even heavier.
Wow. Okay, so I met Niall in the 80s. I know Niall from the 80s, but wow, you guys go back to the 60s, right?
Yeah, yeah, late
That's
60s. And
that's
Nye was playing in
crazy.
a blues band. He was a rhythm guitarist in a blues band, and he lived right around the corner from me. And we became fast friends and friends to this day, And,
Fantastic.
Bernard Edwards lived up a block from me, and I didn't know that until years later.
Wow.
So, yeah, he lived
Everybody's
right up the
from the
street.
Bronx. So okay, so LaBelle, Nona Hendrix, Robert Palmer. How did that happen? How'd you get the Robert Palmer gig?
Wow. I
Oh
have to
wait, no,
digress.
then you did the jazz, right? And you
Then
did Stanley
yes,
Clarke also, right?
Stanley Clarke and George Duke after Lenny White,
Wow.
right? And toured with them for a couple of years. That was amazing. I mean, Stanley and George are like just really incredible. They were incredible. God rest his soul. George so loved in the business, and he was just
Mm,
a great. He and Stanley are such great leaders. They give you this kind of
mm,
freedom. They give you this freedom as an artist, and they let you do what you do. And when that happens, it gives you such a big responsibility to come up with something really special and magical. And that, to me, that is what is so great. They're incredible leaders. They're incredible
mm.
professionals. They comport themselves to the highest of standards, and just great working with those guys. I mean, I love them dearly, and friends to this day.
Wonderful. And so from that, okay, so then
Yeah,
from this intense jazz, how do you end up in this like the pop of the
Blondie,
pop?
Blondie.
Oh, Blondie first?
Yes, yeah. After
Oh,
Stanley Clarke and George Duke,
yeah.
I I decided I wanted to take a break from touring, and I really wanted to crack the studio scene in New York. To me, that was my goal. And it's a very tight knit clique too. I mean,
Hell
I
yeah.
would say the same thing for Los Angeles. The studio
Mhm.
scene is it's a very kind of tight knit thing. So I had, I just, I heard Bernard was recording his solo album at the power station. So I knew Bernard. I called up the studios. Hello, may I speak to Bernard Edwards? And they put me on. Yo, Spiff, what's happening? This is, hey, Bernard. I hear you're making a record. This is, if you have any need for a guitar, man, I'd love to play on it. He says, what are you doing tomorrow? So
Wow.
yeah, and I met him. I met him for lunch the next day, and then the following day, I played on the record and played on the rest of the album. And it was at a point where he and Nile kind of like they were starting to produce things independently, and they were
Mm,
separating as the Rogers Edwards production, and they were
hmm
going their separate ways. And
mm.
it was a great opportunity for me to play on a lot of records with Bernard. And working with Bernard, they were working on the Power Station band, the group with Andy and John Taylor and Tony Thompson. And when Bernard was working on that record, um, I went upstairs to say hello because I was working on the Jagger album at that time at Power Station.
Okay, we have
And
to talk about all of this. This is crazy.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I was working on the Jagger album. This
Okay,
Robert came. I
wait.
says,
How
"Oh,
how the hell did that? I mean, you're a Bronx boy who loves the Beatles, and now you're working with Mick Jagger. I mean, come on, that has to be
well, it's so
crazy.
funny." I'll tell you. Sorry, I was going to a rehearsal on 30th Street, and I go to the rehearsal studio, and I'm setting up my gear, and somebody from the office says, "Eddie, there's a phone call from you," and I said, so it was my wife. And I says, "Yeah, what's up?" He says, "Oh, um, Bill Laswell called up. He wants to know whether you can be in the Bahamas tomorrow to work on Mick Jagger's album." That was it. That was it. It says, well, yeah, I'll be on that plane.
Okay, so from Stanley Clarke, like where did they get you from? Where did they find? How did they find you?
Well, I'd worked with Laswell a couple of times, and I think he liked what I did. And I
Obviously.
worked with Nona, and so I'd worked with him. I think, oh gosh, this was like 84, 85. I'd done a few things with Bill, maybe with Sly and Robbie, and he kind of liked what I was doing. So I went down to the Bahamas and spent a week down there, then came back to New York and continued working with Mick on. I worked with just about every rhythm section on that album.
You
And then he
worked
asked me
with
to do.
Jeff Beck.
Yes, I
You
did
worked.
down in
I mean,
comp.
oh my God.
I mean, he's one of my heroes. I mean,
Mine
Jeff
too.
Beck is like Jeff fucking Beck. Pardon my French.
No, that's quite. Yeah, that's fine.
Yes,
Holy
but
shit.
that was, yeah, that's what I was saying. And it was great. Jeff was so cool, and to record with him was really an incredible experience. I loved every moment of it because I wasn't really trying to cop licks because you can't really do what he does. He's such an incredible otherworldly talent.
Mm-hmm.
And but what you can learn is how their thought process is in terms of how they approach recording. And to me, I learned a valuable lesson because there's something so authentic about him, and it's in the moment. So he's in the moment. He's really in the present, so focused with the music that I says, "Wow, he's really streaming." I mean, there's some next level streaming going on here because things were coming out as he was just really feeling the tune, and it was great. It was great. We cut tracks. Really, it was really a lot of fun, And
Wow.
when you work with people like that, that incredible, you have to find out what you can do to, number one, complement the piece of music, and number two, to stay out of his way. And that's easier said than done. But we were able to work on things together, and we created our own lanes.
I
So that was
cannot
really.
even imagine that side by side. Wow. I have to go back and listen to that music and hear it. Wow.
Oh, it was a
That's
lot of
thrilling.
fun. It was really great. It was great. So I worked with him down there, and then I continued working up in New York, actually with Nile. Nile produced a few tracks for that record as well. So
Didn't you work
those are
with
good memories.
Tina with Mick as well?
Yeah, worked with Tina at Live Aid. So
Jesus.
that was amazing,
Oh
Vicki.
my God. What
That was
what
really
was that like? Everybody in the world was playing that. Oh my God.
that was really the fastest 20 minutes of my life. I tell people it's like
God.
it was really the one of the few times that I've been on stage where the energy of the audience is literally drowning out the dBs that you're putting on stage. It was really
Wow.
electric. And so there was this reciprocal energy because we were playing hard and the audience was giving back as hard as we were giving. And it was amazing.
Oh my
It was crazy,
God.
crazy fun,
Oh
crazy
my
fun.
God. So Robert Palmer, how did this happen? What was that story?
Well, I heard they were recording at Power Station. I was down in Studio A. They were up in Studio C. So I took an elevator up there and to say hello to my friends. And Robert Palmer comes out. He says, "Oh, I heard about you." He says, "What are you doing in November?" And I says, "Well, what's happening?" He says, "I'd like for you to play on my record." I says, "I'm ready. Let's do it." And that was a real turning point for me because I think out of all the work, I think that was the first time that I was able to really be me in a
Well,
recording
if
in a
that's you, if
collaborative.
those iconic riffs are you, I mean, I know the guitar part. I mean, I'm not a guitarist, and I know the guitar parts to all those songs. That's what I think of when I think of those songs. It's you, it's your work. Oh my God.
Oh, thank you. Thank
Where
you.
did that, where did that come from? Simply Irresistible. Yeah,
That's a crazy story. Well, to go back to the first album, Riptide, that was done in the
right.
Bahamas. And Bernard Edwards produced that, and that had "Addicted to Love" on it, and "Didn't Mean to Turn You On." And those
Oh my
really,
God.
really, that is somebody that should be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I cannot believe that Robert Palmer is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of
That really
Fame.
is
It's a
sinful.
shame.
Does he get nominated? He has to be nominated all the time.
I,
Does he
I
get
don't know.
nominated?
I don't know. I think it's very political, and you have to have a
Mm,
whole lobby of people that are creating this energy with the board and
mm.
all this and that. I don't know anything about that kind of stuff. And Robert was of the mind. Uh, that wasn't part of his world.
Mhm.
It was Robert was just all about the music.
Mhm.
It was all about the music. I remember when he signed, this enormous contract um, with EMI, and it wasn't about the money. It was about, I said, now I have my freedom to be able to do what I want to do. I feel like, like a scientist, and I've got my laboratory. And he made some incredible records. So to get to Simply Irresistible, that song was Donnie and Frank and William Bryant had cut that track, and there weren't any guitars on it. And I'd flown in to Italy because that record was done in Italy. The previous album was done in the
Wow.
Bahamas at Compass Point. So the track was up and it was killing. and it was, and I just, you have to hear stuff. I tell people, that want to do studio work. You have to be musical, and you have to hear stuff when you hear a bare bones track. And but there was incredible energy because Frank Blair and Donnie Wynn, who played bass and drums on it, are just monsters. And when I heard that, I said, "Oh my goodness!" It's like you start getting this kind of nervous energy because you're hearing so much stuff, and you just want to get started. So you want to get your tones ready and stuff, and it was so much. There's so much energy, and I just had to really find my way to kind of create a kind of guitar kind of landscape, for lack of a better phrase, that could weave in and out with Robert and stuff. And it was just great. And the solo was a lot of fun to do. And
oh my
Robert,
God.
It was so out. It was, I did something kind of atonally and kind of, it was kind of like intervals and stuff. Musicians and guitarists would know. And Robert loved it. The further, I can't believe the record was such an enormous hit. The solo was kind of atonal, and it weaves in. There's some whole tone stuff going in there, and there's parallel fourths and fifths and things like that. And so, but I felt like I got away with murder, to be honest with you, to be able to do something kind of like that extreme, And
did he have any idea? Did he come at you with anything, or was that all of your creation?
Oh, he loved it. He loved it. He was right there when I was doing it. And he loved the way he called it Large Marge, like in the Pee Wee Herman movie, when he gets into the truck and that old lady who's behind the truck, her face becomes all grotesque and all that stuff. He called it Large Marge, which was a compliment, because it was just really kind of nasty and ugly, and it suited the track.
Was that persona that he created of his own creation? Did he have a savvy business person guiding him, or was that his thing? I'm going to wear a suit and tie. I'm going to be slick. I'm going to have these girls. I mean, who came up with all that?
Well, the girls in the video, Terence Donovan, I think the guy's name was. He was a fashion photographer in England, and those two videos were the first videos he had ever done.
What?
He'd never done a video before. So his vision was, okay, the whole haute couture vibe with women and, dressed up and their hair's all up and lots of pancake on and, the short skirts, and Robert kind of dressed to the nines. But Robert was like that. Robert was very dapper. That wasn't a contrivance. Robert was always dialed, and even at rehearsals, even in the studio, more times than not, he'd be wearing a tie and a suit. That's just the way he rolled. That was authentic. It wasn't contrived. And he wore it well.
Yeah, I was going to say it fit him to a T. I mean, it was the whole deal. And so was that had to be fun. That had to be crazy fun.
Well, it was really cool because I played on number ones before, but there was something really special about that. I felt that it was really an example of what Bernard, Tony Thompson, Donnie Wynn, Frank Blair, Bernard Edwards, myself, Jeff Bova, Wally Badarou, and it was just a really an incredible moment where just it was just some sort of energy going on there that I knew Addicted to Love was a hit.
I mean, you guys made a new sound. That was a new sound. There was nothing like that.
Yeah, it's like I wasn't hearing guitars like that, other than maybe what Steve Lukather was doing on the West Coast, or Mike Landau, who were just iconic guitarists. I just love their work, and I just wanted to put my fingerprint on things, being someone from the East Coast, because I listened to all those cats when I was first starting, and was just getting into the guitar. I'm big fans of theirs.
Well, you certainly made your mark. There's no question about that. And then Run DMC. There was no rock. Well, there was no rap before Run
Yeah,
DMC?
no, it's the
Was there?
first time that, yeah, no, they hadn't been. It's the first time that, rock guitar had been paired with rap music. And wow, that was really an incredible session. I didn't know what to expect, but Larry Smith, who produced it and wrote the piece of music, really, I went to the studio and it was just a drum machine and the bass line. And I just built up on that, and I did all these guitars. I stacked them up, and I did them in harmony, and it was not really well received by the artist. There's a documentary on AMC about I think Songs That Rock the World, I think it's called, and they didn't get it, but eventually they did get it because Russell
Wow.
Simmons and Larry said this is the way, this is the path, and it turned out to be true, and the rest is history. Then we did King of Rock. And then they went on and did that stuff with Aerosmith. But the stuff that I did was really the spark that created that whole buzz, and the first rap video ever played on MTV. And it's they're really iconic figures in the world of rap and in the world of rock music. And very happy for those guys.
And you were right there with them. And I read that Guitar Player magazine voted your solo like the #1 hip hop guitar rock solo of like. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I read that. It's on Wikipedia.
Oh, well, that's cool.
That's really cool.
That's flattering. I felt it was a good day at work. I didn't know it was going to be that enormous of a hit. And
you also were one funky looking dude. You always had you're a fashion guy. You had stuff going on in everything that you've done. You've always had something going on.
Yeah, I think that was a Kanzai Yamamoto. Remember that designer back in the day?
Oh my God.
And
yes, I remember the name.
That was a jumpsuit that I picked up. And that was cool. That was fun.
You always had crazy hair too, like you had geometric fros and all kinds of things going on.
Oh yeah, because I had an enormous fro in high school. I mean, my fro was so big. I was combing out window panes from adjacent buildings and stuff. It was a big fro, and then as the '80s came about, I kind of made it a bit more of a wedge.
Yeah, you did.
So yeah, boy. Man, it took a lot of gel to keep that. As soon as we'd hit the stage and the lights, it would just flop.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
But it was all right. It was so much fun. The '80s was so much fun. Oh my God.
So you were in New York in those, that was your stomping ground, yeah?
Oh yeah. That time was so fruitful, and it was so great to see all my friends, whether it was Carmen Rojas or Jose Rossi, Alan Childs, all these great musicians. Everybody kind of we played collectively, but individually we kind of all had created our own lane, so it was great. I mean, Carmen was hitting it with Bowie and Julian Lennon and John Wade, and Jose was with Talking Heads and Cameo and all sorts of different people, and Alan, John Wade and Bowie, and so it was everybody was just, we were just doing our own thing. It was crazy. It was so much fun. And it was even more fun if we bumped into each other on the road. Oh, yeah. Man, the parties we had. Geez, that was great.
Okay, so I want to ask you about that and did you ever have an issue? I'm in recovery. I'm a sober woman. Did you ever have, you were in that world. Was there ever, did you have issues with substances? Was that ever a problem for you?
I am so lucky. That I never did. First of all, I think primarily it's I can't drink and play. I mean, some cats can drink and smoke a bone and go on stage and kill. I can't. I never have been able to do that. So I couldn't hang with it. I had to be sober. And then after the show, I'll have my champagne because of Robert's right. Oh, sorry, my dogs are making a lot of noise.
It's okay.
After the show, Robert Schreider had it had to be Stoli, Crown Royal, Heineken, a case of Moët Chandon. So after the show, the bubbly would pop, and that was it for me. But I couldn't I couldn't deal with the residual effects of really getting toasted and wasted, whatever it was. The next morning, it's just like I can't hang with that
Good. That's a good thing.
multi-substance. Yeah, the multi-substance hangover. Oh my God, that's like that's like
Yeah.
getting run over by a sanitation truck. You know, you just feel brutal.
Yeah.
So
Good
I
for
couldn't hang
you.
with that. Thank
Good for
you.
you. All right. So I want to ask you about some more. So Joe Cocker, another absolute hero of mine. What? God, you played with Joe
Oh,
Cocker.
gentleman, an absolute gentleman. We were doing so. We recorded. I forget where it was. It could have been Sunset Recorder, Sunset Sound, or I forget the studio. But he came up to the studio when we were cutting the track, and absolute nice guy. I still remember. Oh, I just had a great meal of bangers and mash. He just had, his whole British dinner, and very, very charming man. He was a kind human being, and iconic singer.
Oh God, yeah. Okay, so Rod Stewart. So I actually just saw before the pandemic, Rod played and at the Bowl, and Jeff Beck was the featured guest. But it wasn't like back in the day, because Rod was being sort of Vegas Rod, and then
Was this recent? This recent,
this
Vicki?
was 2 years ago.
Oh yes, I've seen the clip.
And
Yeah,
it just wasn't like seeing Rod and Jeff. I mean, Rod, he was doing all his Vegas stuff for the first set, and then I went to see Beck, and then Beck came out, and that's when Rod started to rock, and they would do, the Faces stuff. But Beck only did like 4 songs, and then he's gone, and it was kind of heartbreaking. But you worked with Rod back in the day when Rod was rocking.
yeah. I played on his Out of Order album and shot a video with him, Lost in You, and that was a big comeback. Actually, a comeback record for him. Bernard had produced that record as well, and it's a great album. I mean, that album killed, and that was a springboard for the tour. And I was going to tour, and I was rehearsing, and I don't want to get into it, but I decided not to do the tour. So I kind of backed out before the tour came. I don't think he's ever forgiven me since that.
Oh,
but I saw him. I haven't seen him in a long time, but I like Rod, and he's man. When I was rehearsing with him, are you going to do any songs off of Gasoline Alley or anything? Because I'm into Rod and the Faces.
Hell
and
yes.
Jeff Beck group.
Yes.
I mean, the second concert I ever went to was Rod Stewart in Central Park. And Rod was wearing a canary yellow jacket. I'll never forget it, man. He came out and they were killing. Woody was playing bass. Oh. That's the shit that I love.
Oh yeah.
And Rod in his prime, I mean, one of the greatest rock singers. I mean,
absolutely
unbelievable. And the Faces, and Cut Across Shorty and all that, and his version of Street Fighting, man, just kills. So I'm an enormous fan, and he's cool, nice guy. He's into toy trains, man. He's got an incredible.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's insane.
We skipped right past Blondie. What was that whole thing like?
That was such a trip, Vicki.
How so?
A friend of mine, Larry Smith, called me up, the producer of Run DMC. He says, and this was a couple of years before Run DMC. He says, Eddie, I just heard Blondie's, having auditions. He was at a rehearsal studio and he heard about it. He called this number. So I called the number and made an appointment to go down. And I didn't think in a million years I was going to get the gig, because I didn't think that I fit, in terms of what they were looking for as a guitarist.
Yeah, except you as a guitarist have fit into you have crossed every genre line. So anyway, I'm not listening to you, but go ahead.
So I just went down there with the intent, I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to dime the amplifier and I'm just going to play the songs. So I walk in and Debbie takes a Polaroid of me. And
did you know were you familiar with the music?
They asked me to familiarize myself with a couple of songs. Hold on. Puppy, go upstairs. Sarah? And excuse me.
Right.
So I think they asked me to familiarize myself with a few songs. So I went down and I just cranked and I played my butt off. And by the time I got off the D train and walked 5 blocks to my apartment on Bedford Park Boulevard in the Bronx, Decatur Avenue,
Wow.
and there's a call for you. Call this number. I called. I had the gig. By the time I got
Jesus.
home, I had the
Wow.
gig.
Wow.
So, and then Lisa Robinson wrote about it in the paper and all that and
Lisa.
stuff. And yeah, I haven't seen her in years. But if you know her, tell her I said hi.
I haven't.
And
Lisa used to write about my things 40 years or 30 years ago. Jesus. A
yeah,
long time
yeah.
ago.
So, and then we toured. And at that time,
Mhm.
Chris was really not feeling well. He had some sort of
Mm.
disorder or something like that. So we did. We were supposed to go. We just toured the East Coast. I don't think we went west of the Mississippi. And we were supposed to go out west and then go to Hong Kong and Japan and tour there. That never developed because Chris felt ill and Debbie didn't want to continue. And
Mm.
much respect to her. And so the tour was cut short, but it was great. I mean, I was getting picked up in a limo to a Learjet. You walk
Wow.
off the you walk off the limo, walk on the jet and you come back home, the same night. You fly out of Toronto, you do a gig, you come back home, and then after the tour is back on the D train. Was a rim shot, but it's all good.
She couldn't have been hotter than she was back
Yeah,
then. Wow.
and she's a sweetheart. Debbie Harry's a really kind soul.
That's nice to know. That's
Yeah.
good to hear. Speaking of sweetheart, okay, so Chaka Khan, you played with Chaka. What was that like?
Shaka's amazing. She's power. Um, uh, she's powerful, smart, um, unbelievable vocal ability. She's really one of the iconic singers.
Mhm.
I think, you've got Aretha, you've got Patti, Patti LaBelle is
Unbelievable.
unbelievable,
Yes.
unbelievable. And Shaka is her range, her range in terms of the scope of music that she's covered in the arc of her career is incredible. And Anita Baker is another one that is
Mhm.
just unbelievable. I never
Mhm.
worked with Anita, but Shaka is powerful.
How'd you get that
And
gig?
um, I got a call from, oh gosh, was it Wayne Brathwaite? I think it was. He was a bass player.
Hmm?
And then the second time I worked on a track with her was with Russ Titleman. It was for this movie called Crush Groove.
Mhm.
And work with Russ. I used to work with Russ a bit, work with him on Steve Winwood's records, and he's a brilliant producer and a friend to this day. We touch base every once in a while.
Eddie G is on here, and he was the one who said, ask him about being called Spiffy. So I'm friends with Snuffy, who used to play with Shaka. So how
I
did you get,
know.
yeah. So
I know.
how
Tell
did
Snuffy I
you,
said hello.
I will. How did you get called Spiffy? Where did that come from?
Okay. Here's the story. I was working at the Peppermint Lounge doing 6 sets a night, and I had to get these shoes that like Rod Stewart was wearing and what Joe Cocker was wearing. And there was a
What
place
did they look?
called
What did they look like?
the patchwork leather shoes that they wore
Yes,
back in
I
the day
remember.
when he was with the Faces and
Hmm.
um, so I went down to Granny Takes a Trip, and that was a boutique on the east side
Hmm.
of Manhattan,
Hmm.
and they imported all the clothes from England, and I had to have that. So so I waited like 6 weeks for these patchwork leather boots with 3-inch heels, and that came up to your knee.
Wow.
And so I'm crossing the Grand Concourse I'll never forget it, orange corduroy pants with these boots tucked
By the
in.
way, that is exactly what is in fashion right now. That is
Really?
yes, platform shoes, bell-bottom pants, orange corduroy in fashion right now.
So I'm crossing the street, and now because I saw Nile and some friends, so he saw me with the boots and the orange. He says, "Yo, get a load of Spiffy there." And the name stuck.
I
So
love it.
that's how the name came about. Thanks for Goose, Eddie, for the story.
That's
To ask.
fantastic. So
Yeah,
speaking of, yes, go
Eddie
ahead. I'm
Voiture is
sorry.
an old friend of mine from Taft, and we're still great friends to this day. And he's a great guitarist and a good friend.
Fantastic. And speaking of spiffy dresser, so David Lee Roth, how did what was that about?
That was great. And I tell you,
You were
Ted
with him
Templeman,
at the height of his
yeah,
solo
I think
stardom.
they wanted to make a record, and that record genuinely, that was cut live. I mean,
Really?
there's barely any overdubs on that stuff. I think obviously the vocals were overdubbed and the background vocals were overdubbed, but we cut those tracks live at Power Station in
Wow.
Studio A. And I got a call from Ted Templeman's office and asked me if I was available. And it turns out that Tony Thompson had recommended me to Ted. So we went down. It was myself and Edgar Winter, Willie, the legendary Willie Weeks on bass, John Robinson, a guy named Brian Mann on keys, and Sammy Figueroa on percussion. And we cut Just a Gigolo and the Beach Boys tune, California Girls. And we did another, and there was another tune on there called Easy Street. Yes.
Sure.
And there was a 5-song EP. So it was, man, I mean, David was cool. He was totally cool. He wasn't the onstage Van Halen persona. He was so grateful. He was so thankful. Before we even played a note, he said, I wanted to thank all you guys for being available to play today. I thought that was really kind of,
wow. Because
very
his
cool.
reputation back in those days was total party boy and always fucked up. And no, that's not who you were playing with that day.
That's not what I counted that week. I think I worked up that session. Those sessions are, I think, are a day or two, because they were cut live. I mean, so everybody was, it was Studio A was an enormous studio where you could really create. You can have a band in there and have isolation, so you can record properly. And so we cut those things live. And and he was great. He was very easy to work with, and Ted was a joy to work with as well. It was really a very there was no star shit going on, Vicki, none.
That's really cool. And speaking of doing things live and in the moment, have you seen the documentary 123 McCartney, by the way?
Yeah, the thing on Hulu with Rick Rubin.
Yes.
Oh, so I loved it. I loved them putting up those tracks and how good those things sound all these years later.
And what a bass player! I had no idea.
God.
Oh my God!
Yeah. I met John Lennon way back in the 70s.
Oh my God! I was going to ask you about Yoko next. Wait a minute. Tell me about John. How'd you meet John?
I met John at Record Plant. In the early 70s, he was working with Elephant's Memory. And
Stan Bronstein was my band leader at my wedding.
Really? I knew Stan.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stan was cool, man.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a really cool guy. And so I met him around that time. He came into the studio and he hung out with us. And actually, he let me come in the studio while they were working on some sounds and stuff like that. So I was there, and Yoko was there, and John was there, and they were working on some stuff, and it was really cool. And I'll never forget John saying sound is so important. That sounds like duh, but really I think what he was talking about was he was looking for a sound, sound that was really unique and fundamentally important to the piece of music that was being cut. And so I always remember that, if you're looking for sounds, it's got to be a sound. Just because it sounds good doesn't mean it's going to sound right for the piece of music. So it was like really kind of like a different kind of dimension of pairing sounds with songs. I thought that was really cool. And then I met Ringo at Pinewood Studios, where they shoot all the Bond movies and stuff. I was doing a TV special with Robert Palmer, and actually it was Island Records 25th anniversary, and we flew out there to do the TV show, and so actually it was the first time I met Eric Clapton. So a friend of ours, Alan Rogan, who just passed away last year. He was a great guitar technician for The Who and for Clapton and for, and for Jagger. And I met him working on the Jagger album. So we remained friends since then, and he passed away. He was a really cool guy and missed. And, so he said, come in here, so, he introduced me to Eric, and then Eric introduced me to Ringo. And I said, oh man, just thank you for your contribution to the music. I'm an enormous fan. And he was so complimentary, and he was really just saying how much he dug the stuff that I was doing with Robert and everything. It was really kind of him to say that. And a very nice guy. It's really, really cool. But I've never met Paul. I'd love to meet Paul. Not only is a great musician and composer, but I'm a tenor in my voice, and I would always gravitate towards Paul's notes and harmonies. And I think, listening to his voice really helped me to become a better singer.
Wow.
And it was a big influence on me, Paul McCartney.
So
I almost met George one time.
But?
You know what? I was at Power Station. I was at the speaking to the receptionist about something. Mm-hmm. And I heard the door open. I didn't turn around. It was George Harrison. He walked right by. He was working on Eric's album, Journeyman. And I had also played on a track that didn't make the record, but it's somewhere in the YouTube ethos out there. And that was a great experience recording with Eric.
Wow. Wow. And how did you come to play with Yoko? I saw that on your list.
Oh yeah, it was on the Star Piece album. Bill Laswell called me up and said, hey, I'm doing some things down here, we did that at Hit Factory on 48th Street. And I went down, and that was about weeks. I was down there for 3-4 days working on the record and stuff. And it was cool. Yoko's very cool. She's very chill. Just came with Sean.
Really?
Was just a little kid. He was just running. He was a toddler running around the studio, and she was in there, and very economical with words, but very nice lady, and working with Bill is always a pleasure. Bill was just really kind of he was really one of those kind of those producers who were just not the norm. He broke the norm in a lot of ways. And Bill's really, I work with him with Ryuichi Sakamoto, who's another, iconic music figure for me. Mm-hmm. And, won the Academy Award for Last Emperor. He scored the movie, and he also was one of the stars of the movie as well. So yeah, I've worked with Bill in some really incredible musical situations that are quite diverse.
Such as like.
Well, from Bootsy Collins to Ryuichi Sakamoto is really a very interesting wide spectrum of music, and then Sly and Robbie, which is kind of like a reggae-ish kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I work with some things that are a bit bordering on experimental, and so it was always exciting working with him.
I don't know if this is true or not because I didn't read it, but I heard it. Did you play with Lou Reed?
Oh yeah, I played on his Mistrial album, and Lou was just a great guy.
God.
Yeah, it was really. I bought this track called "The Original Rapper" or something like that. It's called, and it's on Mistrial, and it's so cool. Yeah, I remember being in Tokyo, and Lou was there at the same time, and I took a trip down to see the show and say hello to him afterwards. Last time I saw him was on the Letterman set back around 2000, and
my husband was the head monologue writer for Letterman in those days.
Oh, really?
Then. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I did the show for about 3 weeks. Sid had taken a leave of absence, mm-hmm. and Paul asked me to sit in with the band, and so that. He asked me if I'd be available for a week, and that week turned out to be a 3-week stint. And then,
how fabulous!
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Will and Anton and Bruce and Al, all friends, all fabulous guys.
Oh man, working with Will Lee. I mean, Will Lee and Felicia and Paul, and Anton. We've played on so many records and dates, but working with them on that show was really great. It was really great. And boy, Willie, I mean, those cats, they elevate every musical situation they walk into. You know, they're that good.
And I saw that you've done a lot of work with Ferroni also. I know Ferroni from.
Oh, Steve Ferroni. Oh my God. Steve, we've played on a lot of stuff through the years. What an incredible drummer. I mean, what can you say about Ferroni? He's like, he's so precise and he hits like a tank, but there's a precision and a swing. You know, it's wow. You get spoiled working with musicians like that.
And
you
Tal
really
Bergman, you've done a lot with Tal Bergman.
Tal played on my album.
Okay, we have to talk about your album now. Oh my God, Eddie, majestic. Your vocal. Are you kidding me or what? This might be my favorite new song. I'm going to be playing that in every rotation in my kitchen.
Holy, thanks so much.
It
kind of rocks in a good way. It was just oh, thank you. You know, and you know, the song is kind of like almost
it doesn't correlate it's to totally throwback. It's thank you. It's the best of everything. It's really phenomenal. I was blown away. I kept listening to it over and over. Who played on your album?
Who else played on? Oh, my buddy Carmine Rojas. And Tal, Charlie Drayton, Philippe Sace, great keyboardist, John Mazzacco, Ramsey Embeck. Let's see, I think that's about it. I think Jose Rossi played percussion too. Tell us about the name and why Akasa. What? The name of your album. Actually, it's pronounced Akosia, and Akosia is a Ghanaian word. It's the dialect. The Ghanaian dialect is called Twi, and Akosia means baby girl born on a Sunday, and that's my wife's middle name. Oh. So I named the album after her. Which is also a beautiful song on the album. Oh, thanks. Yeah, that's kind of like my film music kind of vibe there, and I really love film music. I've been listening a lot to it. I think some of the writers out there, you know, and scores, Thomas Newman and, you know, Lyle Workman is an old friend of mine who's really a brilliant composer, and he's doing great stuff, you know, 40-Year-Old Virgin and Superbad and things like that. He's really a monster and a great guitarist. Is that something that you aspire to do? I would love to take that. You know, I've composed some for movies with my partners, Bernard and Jeff Bova. And we were involved in a movie back in the 80s called Burglar, and with Whoopi Goldberg. Mm-hmm. And we wrote most of the music for that movie. And it was fun. You know, it was really, you know, it's really different. You got these deadlines, they want it yesterday, you know, and so it really puts you through. I'm good with that, you know. I'm good with like that kind of a challenge where people need something really quickly. Do you still have that kind of playing discipline? Do you play every day? Yeah, if I don't play every day, I get a little cross. I get a little, you know. Really? I need to play, even if it's just for a few minutes. I need to have the guitar in my hands. I think it's important, you know. And you have to keep your chops up. It's really an important thing to me still to this day, because you never stop learning. If you think you know it all, then you're done. You forget about it. You need to really stay attuned to what's going on. There's some incredible young talent out there, you know, and it keeps you focused on what you need to do as a musician. So in this still pandemic world, are you working on anything right now, or is there something you hope to be doing? I'm writing. Well, what I want to do is I want to finish that thing I was speaking to you about earlier, and because it's ostensibly it's done, you know, it's like right there. It's been like 25 years since I really did anything to it, so I think I want to kind of like readdress what's on there, see if it's still valid. As the music still rocks. It doesn't sound dated, because I have things that I've done that are in the can that sound it's not there. But this record that I did years ago, I think I was transitioning to different types of songs and different types of sounds and vintage instruments, older guitars. It gave it a bit more of a complexity. It wasn't drenched in the 80s or even in the 90s for that matter. it was drenched in kind of like, it's just rocking and it sounds good, and the sounds are kind of transcend what decade or whatever. And so I was happy about that. And then I'm writing songs for my next record. I'm just wondering whether I should put a full conceptual album out again, or whether I should just maybe do an EP, or put out a couple of singles at a time. I'm still mulling that over, but it's going to be different. It's going to be different. And I'm just really trying to write the best songs that I possibly can, Vicki. You know, I really want to push myself to write the best songs, not only musically, but also as far as content. I really want to, I just wanted to, I want to, you know, create a different picture out there, you know, and push myself most importantly, because that's, you know, I think that's, if there's anything that the COVID thing is done, it's for certainly maybe a bit more introspective about life in general, and how each day is a gift, and tomorrow's not guaranteed, and tell the people that you love them in the moment. You know, just don't say, oh, I'll call him up tomorrow or whatever. You know, it's that kind of, I think those are the realities that I find before me during these times.
There's a new urgency to
Indeed.
So did you get to go out in support of your album that came out? Because it was like just before the pandemic.
No, I didn't. I wanted to do a small tour, which never really developed. I'd really like to do these smaller tours. I don't want to go out for like, you know, 6 weeks or whatever. I'd like to do something East Coast, maybe New York City, Boston, you know, DC, Philadelphia, and then something in the Midwest, and then West Coast. That's a bit of a vision of mine that I'd like to, maybe once I do my next record, I'll have enough music to really do an entire show.
The COVID will be in the rear view. That would be a good thing.
Oh boy, you know, from your lips to God's ears, for sure.
Is there anybody, Eddie, that you haven't played with? I mean, it sounds like you played with every hero that there is. Is there anybody that has eluded you to this day that might be somebody that you would still aspire to? It sounds like you played with everybody, though.
Yeah, you know, it's it's so interesting, Vicki. It's like when I think about my journey and the arc of my career, and I wasn't really thinking about who I was playing with. Now I can look back, but I don't like to retrospect too much. But you know, I mean, I've got a lot of platinum albums on my wall all over the freaking place here in my.
I can only see a few
space
behind you, but I'm sure there are many more. Yes.
You know, but I've only recently done that because I didn't want to be dwelling on that when I could be dwelling on something moving forward. And so to me, that's my priority, and it always has been that way. It's only now that I'm kind of like, oh man, that was cool, you know, and like it's a memory. You know, and but I don't want it to define me moving forward. I want to create new stuff, and my mission is to put out content, you know, and if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, you know, it doesn't. I'm not gonna. I feel a need to put things out and share what I have with people that may like what I do, and it's so great in this day and age that, you know, I'm not dealing with an A&R person at a record label. I don't have to deal with that. I'll finance my own records and do them the way that I hear them in my head. And collaborating with people that I love. You know, it's like, you know, there's nothing better being in studio with cats that you have a great friendship with. That is really something special, you know, and so yeah, that's
how can
that's
people find your music? How can they find?
You can find the album at iTunes, you know, Acacia, Eddie Martinez. Let's see, a song companion for the Great Divide is the subtitle, but Acacia is my wife's name. That's the name of the album, Eddie Martinez, Acacia. You can find it at Amazon as well.
What's the best place for people to buy it for you? Because I know Spotify not so good. iTunes, yes, Amazon.
I mean, my gosh, that's a whole other issue there with you know. I would imagine that iTunes and Amazon would be the best place.
Okay. I'm gonna put the information in the notes to the show. It has been so wonderful to get to chat with you and to meet you. You are such a lovely guy. I mean, as soon as we exchanged the first email, just your heart is as beautiful as your music. And
Thank
it's
you.
wonderful to meet you. And I just adore your playing. And
Thank you
you
so
for
much.
your
It's great to meet a Bronx girl. You know, it's,
through and
I mean,
through.
it's nothing like the Bronx. I love the Bronx. I'm partial. I mean, you know, the Bronx is, to me, it doesn't get the love that it deserves, but it's really a great borough.
It is. Well, so wonderful. And I wish all good things for you. I'm so excited to have found your solo album. It's, as I said, heavy rotation in the kitchen. It's going to be going on. And I look forward to the next. I can't wait to hear the new music.
Oh, thank you, Vicki. Look forward to meeting you in person.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Soon with Carmine, we'll work that out when this is all behind us.
You bet.
Take care. Stay healthy.